In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about sexy Bigfoots, gnomes, and Keanu Reeves in our discussion of Necromancing the Stone by Lish McBride. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult books, series, authors, and voice actors that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Necromancing the Stone by Lish McBride.
Didn't I say last week that I was just going to go spoilers?
Yes, that works.
It doesn't work. Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't done this, shit. If you haven't read or listened and don't...
You haven't done this shit.
If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
Spoilers!
Spoilers!
That was delightful in every way.
You know, I'm thrown off today because we're recording at a different time and everything's weird.
Everything.
Good. It's good. It's really good.
Do you know what else is really good?
The background info that I found?
Yes!
Oh, hey, cool. Is that what you were going to say?
It was actually.
Oh, cool.
I was actually going to go for an appropriate segue.
Wow. I'm so surprised. We're not appropriate, ever. We're getting it all out of the way now.
Well, that was before we pressed record as well.
Yes. Jeez. So my background info is from foreveryoungadult.com, and they have the best interviews. So this one is from way back in June 2011, and
whoa,
it's
back in the black and white times.
Back in the black and white times, and it's a really long interview, and they even play MASH at the end, and it's fantastic. So check out the interview. We need to share the link for this one because it's really, really great. But of all of the millions of questions and millions of answers, this one is my favorite one. The question is, who would play you in the film adaptation of your life? And Lish's response is, I just read this question out loud. Manfriend paused his video game long enough to say, Daria? I don't know. Joey Lawrence? It made me snort. Because I can just picture Joey Lawrence, and it's... But Joey Lawrence from, like, Blossom days, which is...
that's what I was thinking. Which Joey Lawrence are you going to go for?
Blossom.
Because has he done something fairly recently with Melissa Joan Hart?
Yeah, but I prefer Blossom.
Yeah.
Outfits and everything.
Those shows from the 90s are the best.
Yeah, they really
Cannot be beaten.
They really, really
Yeah.
are. So that was... That's my background info for today. Lish McBride, as played by Joey Lawrence.
That's really tickled me.
I know, I snorted. I couldn't help it. It just...
It also feels a little obscure as well.
Oh, yeah. And that's the best part. It's really great.
Okay.
All of it's great. So, initial thoughts.
Woo!
Woo! That's good. That's good initial thoughts. I like that.
I can't give any other words because I was just excited to read this one, like getting into the second one and seeing how Sam and everybody was doing and get some resolution from the first with a couple of questions that we had.
I know. Remember we decided that Sam was going to be the bad guy?
Yes.
We were
and that
wrong.
And that Douglas didn't have the true comic book ending that he needed. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just love Sam.
I don't want to say any more because we need to go through the summary.
We do. We really do. But I just love Sam, and I was excited to get back into this world.
Sam and his friend group
I
were amazing, and I
know.
think that's what we're gonna talk about that a little bit. I feel it's
Yeah.
something that we need to talk about.
Yeah. So let's get into it. It's been about a month and a half since Hold Me Closer Necromancer ended, with Sam, the baby necromancer, kind of accidentally killing Douglas, the non-baby evil necromancer, and absorbing all his powers, then escaping his mansion with Brid, his new then girlfriend, with the help of Brid's family of hybrid werewolves and feyhounds. Everybody caught up? That was a good sentence. Sam's friend Ramon was also there and also escaped, but also maybe got turned into a werebear. Now, all these people mentioned, minus Douglas because he's dead, are at the pack house. Brid's brothers, Sean and Bran, are training Sam to fight because now that he's part of this fantasy creature world, there are probably going to be people that want to kill him. After getting beat up a few times and getting a bloody forehead, Sam uses his blood to summon all the dead birds and wildlife around him and sick them on his attackers. The training ends with Sean running away after getting a squirrel out of his pants, and Sam, Bran, and Brannick, their dad, are laughing.
Yes, so are we.
Yes, so are we. There was a good squirrel in his pants. Sam gets cleaned up for dinner, then makes out with Brid for a while, in between her drawing hearts and mustaches on him. It's pretty cute.
There is so much to unpack in that paragraph.
It was so great, though. It was so great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's so cute. But you know what's not very cute?
What?
Being dead.
Oh.
Or mostly dead. That's Douglas right now. Yeah, Douglas is still alive. Kind of. Yeah. Based on a fairy tale he learned when he was younger, Douglas realised he could move his own life spark from his body and hide it. So he did. That's very familiar. And now he's hanging out in the mausoleum where he was buried, plotting a return.
Son of a bitch.
And murder.
No, it's worse. Murder.
It gets worse. Lots of murder.
Great.
He's going to kill Brannick and Sam and probably anyone else who gets in his way. But he's got to have a body. Maybe his own. Maybe not. He also needs information from his house, but he needs James to get that for him. James is a Pucus and was Douglas's assistant. He lives in Douglas's, well, now Sam's house, and is now Sam's assistant. So, hey, job change. Sometimes he's a thin butlery. That is not a word. Sometimes he's a thin butlery.
Butlery.
Butlery. That's not a real word. Sometimes he's a thin butlery. I'm saying butlery. Butler-y. I'll give you but. Sometimes he's a thin, butlery looking man. Sometimes he's a cat. And sometimes he's a tiny dragon. But he's always an assistant. Never a free man.
Butlery. Note to self. Put the word butlery all over the place in the paragraphs Claire has to read because she cannot say the word butlery. After dinner at the pack house, Sam is threatened by Eric, one of the single male pack members, because it's obvious that Sam and Brid were furiously making out in a pile of markers. Most of the pack dislikes that Sam is an outsider and probably bang in the next pack leader. Brannick, current pack leader and Brid's father, is about as okay with their dating as any other protective father would be. Later that night, back in his house, Sam, Frank, his friend from Plumpy's, who is now essentially his errand boy, Brooke, his formerly alive, turned head in a bag, turned ghost, turned necromancer guide, Sean, Brid's half-fae, half-were brother, and James are talking about getting used to the house and living in it together. James is annoyed at all of them, but kind of in a loving way. He's going to buy them a new refrigerator since Ramon the werebear is coming home from the PAX hospital tomorrow.
Nice. Everyone goes to check out the basement, which Sam hasn't been in since he was held prisoner there. James shows them tons of notebooks kept by Douglas that are full of grisly details of all the experiments he used to do on people. Yikes, people. There are a lot of notebooks. A lot. Frank is interested in studying them, but Sean gets angry that James assisted in these gruesome experiments. He is but a servant after all, and must do as he is bid. Later, Sam explores a music room. He and Douglas had another thing in common, it seems. As he's grabbing an album, he trips and falls into a table holding a duck statue, which breaks open to reveal a jade egg. Not knowing what it is, Sam puts it into his pouch he always wears. Early the next morning, Sam gets a call from his sister Hayley. She says someone put a knife in her door and asks him to drive her home from the library later. Well, yeah, that can't be good, but of course he'll come when she needs him. Later, while Sam is training his spirit-seeking abilities with a game of hide-and-seek, Ramon comes home. Yay!
Yay!
We are all happy. James helps him get settled in. How thoughtful.
That is so thoughtful.
Yeah.
Do you know another thoughtful thing James has done? He brought a Stygian coin to Douglas, giving him a more corporeal form and the ability to leave the graveyard.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
No, that's not good.
Is James serving two masters? It certainly seems so. He didn't kill Sam's sister like Douglas asked him to do, and he hasn't been able to find the jade egg that Douglas needs to fully return to form. Well, he'd better keep looking, and he'd better not let Sam find it first. Meanwhile, Sam goes to a council meeting and feels ridiculously out of place. He knows he's going to get someone hurt or killed, and that surely there is someone better suited to the seat. Someone with more knowledge who's been doing this for longer. Brannick tells him yes, there was such a person. Douglas. But yikes. No thank you. Surely Sam is better than Douglas.
Yes.
Back with James and Douglas. Douglas has brought in a minion to assist him since James is also working for Sam and might not always be able to sneak away. Minion is definitely Keanu Reeves, who was killed in an accident while filming My Own Private Idaho and reanimated by Douglas, but he's never referred to by name. But it's definitely Keanu Reeves, and it's definitely hilarious.
100% Keanu. All
so
Keanu.
Perfect. It's so perfect.
All Minion.
James doesn't really like Minion, but he understands the need for additional servants. But it's Keanu Reeves.
In the form of Keanu Reeves.
So good.
It's all the snide remarks. Anyway, Sam gets a call later from Brid. Her father has been killed and the pack needs his help.
Yikes!
Not good.
No!
What the hell? What the hell?
Oh, Brannick!
He, James, Ramon and Sean head to the scene of the crime. Everyone but Sam can get to the body quickly with their animal powers, but Sam can't. So, at James' suggestion, he reanimates an elk to ride. Upon arrival, Brid, now pack leader after her father's death, formally asks Sam into the pack's friendship and service, and then he goes to the body. Sam summons Ashley, his harbinger guide, and tries to bring Brannick back to find out what happened to him, but a woman covered in flowers resurrects instead. She says Brannick's soul needs to rest and that she can't help him just yet. Apparently, Sam went somewhere with this woman, and when James asks him what happened, Ashley shakes her head slightly and zips her lips. Unfortunately, Sam can't help right now, and so the pack puts their former leader on a pyre. Then Sam throws up.
Oh, Sam.
Poor Sam. He's having a rough time.
He really is. James Ashley and Ramon take Sam, who vomits again, this time on James's shoes, to Sam's mother's house. If you will remember, Tia is a green witch. She gives Sam an herbal tea to help heal whatever has happened to him, and then he goes to sleep. He wakes up to Mrs. W., his former neighbor slash spy slash witch protector, telling him to get up and drink more tea. He vomits some more, and then she shows him to his sister's room. When Haley said earlier that someone put a knife in her door, she neglected to mention that it was her bedroom door, meaning that some sort of psychopath has been inside his mother and sister's house. This makes him angry, but there's nothing to be done now. So Mrs. W. takes Sam and Ramon home, where Sam finds that someone has slashed his tires and wet his bed.
Oh, yuck.
Oh, no. This shit has got to stop. All the creatures that protected Douglas's house, the garden gnomes, the lawn statues, the minotaur, the shrubs, have been very upset since Sam moved in and took over and stopped paying them for protecting the house. And now they're angry enough about it to pee in Sam's bed. He makes Frank head of human resources and gets him to smooth things over and begin paying the security. One problem down, but literally a million to go.
Sam's pretty tired after everything, so Ramon forces him to take a nap, even though he should be visiting with spirits and helping them contact their loved ones, which is something that he's been doing. He finally takes a nap for an hour when Ramon wakes him to tell him that Brid has come by. Oh, Brid. Oh, how Sam loves her. He'd do anything for her. But oh no, Brid breaks up with Sam. Oh. As pack leader, she has to put the pack first, and what the pack needs, later for goodness sake, is babies! Future babies, but babies all the same. Bran stepped aside as leader because he's gay. He's gay? Did you know that? I did not know that.
I didn't know that. Didn't pick up on it.
No, that's fine.
It is fine. It's wonderful. I love it.
And therefore cannot produce babies, and it probably wouldn't be good if the babies that Brid and Sam would possibly have turned out to be necromancers.
That would not be good.
No. The pack doesn't like necromancers, especially after what Douglas did to Brid. One could argue, though, that Sam is a necromancer and rescued her, but Sam's not thinking about that because he's sad. He just got dumped.
Wah, wah.
We'll let him off for now. Brid leaves and Sam says he's going to fight for her, and then his friends come out and cuddle shark him, which is just friggin' adorable because they are good friends.
They are such good friends.
I want a cuddle shark.
Me too. Douglas, meanwhile, recounts his murder of Brannock while getting cozy in a little bungalow.
What a dick.
With the Stygian coin James gave him, Douglas has a body but no scent, making it easy for him to sneak up with his iron blade and kill the Feyhound unnoticed. Now, he's burned all his clothes and Minion is curled up by the fire. Please, everyone, just picture Keanu Reeves tucked into a nice little ball, snoozing on a little rug in front of the fireplace.
Doesn't take much imagination, to be fair.
No. Sam is not feeling as well as Douglas after what happened to him. His magic overload or whatever that was. But things are getting better around the house. Frank has a list of all the gnomes and minotaurs and gladiators and all the other guards and what they want and is working on appeasing them. The gnomes suggest that they investigate the guest bathroom and, under the sink, they find a chupacabra.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. They feed him, get him set up with a nice little blanket, and name him Taco von Precious of Svenenstein. Such a good name. Such a good name.
I dispute. I challenge anybody to come up with a better Chupacabra name.
It's the Precious, really, that gets me.
Yes.
Then, Sam has to pick up Haley from the library. She suggests he call Ashley and get the council to help figure out what happened to Brannick. And also, maybe he should call that detective that knows he's a necromancer. Sure, this might make him look weak, but it will also make him look like he wants to help. And he really, really does. Ashley calls James, and the meeting is set.
The meeting goes surprisingly well. Before it begins, though, there are a couple of awkward moments. One is when the bartender/guardian sort of guy, Angus, at the bar where they have their council meetings, gets onto Sam for stretching his powers to sense what sort of creatures are in the bar. Sam has no idea what Angus is, but is shocked by his power. Then Brid arrives and sniffs Sam and rubs up against him like, you'd expect a wolf to do. But they're still broken up and dealing with it. There's also a weird look on James's face when Sam asks him to check on the security at his mom's house. But then Detective Dunaway arrives and it's time for the meeting to start. And like we said, it goes surprisingly well. All the creatures on the council are okay with letting a human help them solve Brannick's murder. Which is good. I am happy.
Yes. After the meeting, Brid goes running on Packland, her brothers soon joining her. She's frustrated with Sam for not being able to speak to Brannick after he died. For what is a necromancer that can't speak to the dead? He's not a very good necromancer. Other members of the pack think that Sam is responsible, and Brid is starting to believe them. But her brothers assure her that it is not Sam who killed their father. Come on, Brid. Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Maybe it was someone like Sam, but not him. She needs to be a better leader before the rest of the pack make her look like a fool. Agreed. Douglas, meanwhile, is with Minion, who definitely is a fool. They're searching the music room in Sam's house, not Douglas's house, for his jade egg. He really thought it was inside that duck, but Minion has now looked in it 3 times, and it's still not there. Douglas sits then and remembers when he got the jade egg. He was young and with his aunt who trained him to be a necromancer. She bought a young girl who Douglas came to care for. But that was a bad idea because his aunt intended for him to kill her. Instead, they became friends. Douglas bought the egg for the girl as a gift. When his aunt brought them out into a field and told Douglas to kill the girl, he couldn't, so she did. Douglas sat with her as she died and cried. It's the last time he would ever cry, as it turns out. He called to the earth to swallow her up, and he put the egg in his pocket. The next time he had to kill someone, he did it without hesitation. You have to have a spark for that, and his was gone.
Sam takes the council out to the clearing where Brannick was murdered, and they use all their powers to try and figure out what happened to him. Sam also tries again. He uses Bran's blood, freely offered, to try to summon Brannick, but instead he summons all the dead creatures around him, even wolves that have been burned at the pyre, like Brid's mom, which is rare. Those types have to want to show up and do it on their own. The flowery woman is there again too, but still no Brannick. Sam has all his summoned creatures sniffing around for clues, and Brid's mom comes up to chat with him. Then Eric comes up and bullies him again, even pokes him in the chest. Oh, no, thank you. Brid's mom tells Sam what to say to Eric, and Sam uses his reading people and suggestion powers to show him just where he's weak and why he won't get anywhere in the pack, while telling him everything the former pack leader's mate said, which freaks him out and makes him sulk off in anger. Ramon, in bear form, is always nearby though, just in case. Sam talks to the council after sending his summoned creatures away and learns that the thing that killed Brannick has something to do with necromancy and has no scent. Well, there's only a few necromancers that aren't dead around, but they decide it can't really be any of them, so what does that mean? Sam offers to the human detective all of Douglas's research, so that's probably where they're going to find out.
Speaking of Douglas, he has a dream in which he remembers talking with James about putting his spark inside the jade egg. James doesn't think it's a good idea. No one's done it successfully, and it'll be obvious if anyone knows any fairy tales. Well, Douglas has a lot of hubris, so he does it anyway. Sam dreams, too, of searching his house for Easter eggs and releasing the zoo panda that Douglas resurrected. Then, his chupacabra wakes him up, and he goes downstairs. When he got home the night before, there was a Gnome-Frank wrestling match going on, and now it seems that Frank is an honorary gnome.
Nice.
Ashley, the Harbinger, shows up and talks to Sam about the jade egg he's pulled out of his pouch. She doesn't understand its power, but it's definitely something important. So she suggests that he keep it hidden in his medicine pouch until they can spend more time thinking about it. Then Kel, the vampire, shows up, and they summon Ed, the Wepawet, woo, and talk about what sort of creature could have killed Brannick. James suggests Sam talk to the pack about any deities they might worship, and then Kel requests Sam's help with some council business. I love Ed. I love Ed.
It's so nice to see them again.
Know.
The council business begins with them hiking through the Olympic forest. Pello, the pantsless satyr, Ramon, Sam and Taco are on the trip. Sam gets snagged by a prickly plant that actually physically cowers in shame when Sam chastises it for snagging him. Wow, he didn't know he'd inherited any green witch from his mother, but apparently he has. So he apologises to the plant and tells it it's doing a good job.
Yay!
Then a giant crow arrives and they give it some of Taco's meat and continue on their hike to meet a Bigfoot named Murray. Both Murray and Pello have charms that make them appear human, and when Murray dangles his like a toy in front of Taco, Pello tells him to be careful. Chupacabra bites break magic spells. Murray needs help from the council with making more charms because others of his kind are interested in blending in with humans. Sam and Pello agree and offer to take this to the council for approval. Murray also asks for Sam to look into an area that another Bigfoot, Sexy Gary, said is putting off creepy vibes, and also asks him to take a human friend back to the city. The human friend is Sam's Uncle Nick. Ramon punches him in the face, but they agree to take him to the city anyway. He just really, really deserved that punch.
He really did. When Douglas isn't wearing the Stygian coin, it's difficult for him to not fall into dreams and memories. Another quick trip into Douglas's memories shows the time when Douglas purchased James. James looked about 10 and didn't have a name yet. He liked licorice, though. He seemed pleased with being purchased by Douglas and traveling with him to his new home. Nick asks to be taken to Sam's mom's house when he wakes up from his werebear punch. Sam is still pissed at him for sealing away his powers as a baby. If he and his mother hadn't done that, then Ramon wouldn't be a werebear. Brooke wouldn't have been decapitated and then turned into a ghost. Sam wouldn't have been kidnapped and held in a cage. But he forgave his mom, so he should probably forgive his uncle too. They call a truce and head to Tia's house. Later, at another necromancer, Della's, suggestion, Sam asks James to show him where Douglas is buried. Sam has been having too many dreams about eggs and Douglas and worries that he's still alive somehow. James takes Sam to the mausoleum where they see Douglas's rotting corpse.
Nice.
Sam apologizes to James for making him come here, but James says not to worry. He's not here anymore.
Clever wordplay there, James. Well, after that lovely trip, when Sam is back in his own house, he opens the door to his bedroom and finds Brid there. They sleep together and find comfort in each other's arms, but that doesn't last long because the jade egg in his pouch is uncomfortable under Brid's arm. He takes the egg out and looks at it with his necromancer vision and sees, of course, Douglas's aura colours. Well, shit. Then his phone rings. It's Sexy Gary. He wants Sam to check out something that he found in the mountains. Oh, yeah. He's going to bring it to Sam's house. Sam calls Nick to get his assistance, and then he and Haley pull up a short time later, followed by Sexy Gary. Sexy Gary pulls Minion out of the back of his van. Who expected Minion in the back of his van? Oh, Sexy Gary delivers all the good stuff.
He really does. He really does. Because he's a UPS guy.
Yeah.
A sexy UPS guy, even. Minion is sitting, tied up in Sam's kitchen. Everyone else is there too. Sam, Ramon, Haley, Nick, Frank, Brid, Sean, Sexy Gary, James, and Taco. They're all a little bewildered at the fact that Keanu Reeves is in the kitchen and calling himself Minion.
I would be too.
Nick suggests Sam take a good look at Minion. And he sees that Minion is a corpse and is the same color as the jade egg, meaning the same color as Douglas. Oh, great. So Douglas really is back. Minion assumes that everyone here is friends with Douglas because they have his egg, and also James is here. Or he was.
Oh.
Huh. That's not good. He probably ran off back to his true master. Sam asks Brid for permission to be on Pack Land. He's going to lure Douglas there because, one, the Pack needs to see that Douglas killed Brannock, not Sam. Two, he doesn't want to take on Douglas on his turf where he's been hiding out. And three, he doesn't want to take on Douglas here in his literal house with all the gnomes and minotaurs and gladiators that might choose to side with Douglas. Brid agrees. Douglas, meanwhile, is drifting again, remembering his mother, but then the phone rings. James has called to let Douglas know Sam found the egg.
Brid and Sean head back to Pack territory and prepare to tell the others what is about to happen. Before that, though, Sean fights for Sam and tries to convince Brid to stay with him. Sam and everyone else there head to a clearing on Pack territory. Even a few gnomes came. Sam asks Nick to break his bond, but it's already broken. Probably when Douglas tried to do the ritual that would give him all of Sam's powers, but it was reversed when Sam killed Douglas instead. But since Douglas is still alive, air quotes, Sam didn't receive Douglas's power after all. It's been him all along. Huh, well, that's something.
It's kind of special. He's powerful.
He's got the power. He's got the power.
Sam casts a circle and summons Douglas. Douglas is a dick to Sam, of course, so Sam tries to fight him, but he can't. Can't make contact with him at all. But Douglas can certainly beat the shit out of Sam. Then Sam decides he needs to take Douglas's spark of life out of the egg by breaking it, but he can't. But you know who can and does? Taco.
Yay!
Douglas seems terrified to see Taco, and yes, we will all recall that chupacabras can break magic spells. Well. Sam tries to break the egg, but drops it, and Taco bites right through it. There's an explosion of magic inside Sam's circle, and he's knocked out. While Sam is knocked out, Eric approaches Brid, puts his hands on her shoulders, telling her she needs to be with him instead of Sam, because clearly Sam's not going to make it out of this circle. No. Oh, no. Oh, no. Do not put your hands on Brid. She is your pack leader. Do not touch her. So she breaks his wrist, telling him not to touch her. Then she and her brothers begin to fight Eric's cronies, who are not falling in line with her being the new pack leader.
Oh, Eric, you're a dick too. Back in the circle, but kind of not, Sam is being pecked by his crow. He wakes up and is in the presence of the flowery lady who, it turns out, is Bridget, the goddess of the pack. She's a real deity and tells Sam that he needs to focus on what's happening in the circle, and she's giving him a moment of quiet to do so. He thinks Douglas is going to kill him and everyone else he loves, so she suggests that he change the rules. The crow carries him back to reality and back to Douglas. Sam sees that Douglas is corporeal again and he could go kill him right now, but he doesn't want to kill anyone. Sam looks at James outside the circle and he's clearly suffering, torn between Douglas, pretty much the only family he's known, and Sam, his new family. Douglas picks Sam up by the throat, and Sam uses his empathy powers to make Douglas understand what he's doing, not just to Sam, but to James. Sam makes him feel the pain. Douglas puts him down then, saying he doesn't understand Sam, and asks why he didn't kill him. Sam couldn't do that to James. Douglas looks to James again, who is surrounded now by his new family, protecting him and comforting him. Douglas then asks Sam to kill him for real, but Sam won't. So Douglas uses Sam's hands to push a dagger into his heart. Yikes. All Douglas's power truly does go into Sam now, and it's huge and overwhelming. Sam calls Ed the Weapowet to take Douglas away. Ed's back.
Yay, Ed. But yikes, that whole scene was just...
Don't like it when people shove the daggers with other people's hands into them. It's horrible. It's not nice.
How powerful is Sam, though, that he can make Douglas feel?
Phenomenal cosmic powers! Lots of gnomes running around.
Yes. I was going to say, not itty-bitty living space, because he lives in a mansion.
Oh, that place is huge.
Yeah. James is a wreck, but everything and everyone else seems to be okay. Even Minion, who is currently eating grass for some reason.
I'm sure Minion's vegetarian, so, it has a ring of truth.
Haley is the only one who can comfort James, who breaks down and cries into her shoulder. Sam goes back home after that, showers, and climbs into bed. He can't really sleep, though. He feels awful for just about everything that's happened lately. Then, all of a sudden, Brannick is there. He tells Sam that he did well, and the reason why Bridget wouldn't let Sam summon him. If he kept doing that, Brid and the rest of his family would never learn how to survive on their own. He asks Sam to take care of them all and tells him to give Brid his and Bridget's blessing if she chooses to be with Sam.
We're babies.
He sleeps pretty well after that.
The next day, things are a little awkward with James and Haley in the kitchen, but Haley smooths things over and eventually it seems things will be fine. Then Ashley and Ed arrive. Ed gives Sam Douglas's Stygian coin, which will allow him to use his magic without sacrificing anything, not even his own blood.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Then they all sit and have breakfast together. Some time passes and Sam sends Minion back to Hollywood and then goes out with some council members to give charms to the Bigfoots. Big feets? Bigfoots. Big feet.
Big feet? Bigfoots?
Bigfoot? Bigfoots? Big feet?
Hard to say. More time passes, and they have a wake for Douglas, which might be weird, but wakes aren't for the dead. They're for those left behind. And those left behind after Douglas have now become a big weird family.
Yay.
Sam is still sad about Brid because he didn't tell her that her father and her goddess have given her permission to be with him. She'll have to decide that on her own. Things will get better, though, eventually. Finally, at the very end, Sam gets a tattoo of Ling Su the panda on his chest, but a good, happy, living version and an evil, snarling zombie version. It's a weird tattoo, but these pandas are a reminder for him to do good, and he likes it. He also likes it because he's kind of got a thing for zombies. Oh.
Tongue in cheek.
Indeed. Ugh. What a good ending. I wish it wasn't over. I know that there's some short stories floating around, but I just love Sam so much.
There's a lot more story to tell.
Yeah.
And not just Sam. There's so many, the whole cast of characters deserve their own, time in the spotlight.
They really do. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's
let's have a break.
And everyone go and check out this other podcast.
Hi, I'm Bethany Finger, the host of Prince Kai Fan Pod, a Marissa Meyer Book Club podcast. Join me every week during my read-along journey through all of the books by author Marissa Meyer, one chapter at a time, spoiler-free. Each episode will feature a different guest, new fan art, and laughter and joy through reading. You can find Prince Kai Fan Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other listening platforms. And now, back to the show.
Amanda!
Yes,
Amanda!
What?
It was so good.
It was so good. It's over.
Sam had the power all this time.
He did, and now he's got even more power. And he's also got witch powers, which he didn't even realize.
Oh, that little plant was so cute.
I know. Sam's just amazing.
He is. He really is.
He's such a good guy.
He's a good guy who asks for help when he needs it, isn't afraid to admit that he's wrong, and he surrounds himself with good people.
Yeah. Like
his friend group. We mentioned at the top of the episode, beginning of the episode, about how he surrounds himself with good. His friend group's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's lovely to see, because it doesn't feel like it's very often that the characters have this kind of extended friend group who will just come in for, the cuddle shark, who will give them that slice of tough love that they might need, have that empathy for them and that forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because there's so much, like Ramon and Brooke could hold massive grudges against Sam for essentially getting them into this situation, for being a necromancer even though he didn't know he was a necromancer. They could have that bitterness, but they don't. They're forgiving him, they love him, and they get on with it and help him, and he helps them in return, and it's lovely.
It really is.
And
it's a found family. It's a found family, and everyone knows how much we love found families.
Yes.
But also he's got
his found family.
He's also got his regular family, who is also good as well.
Yes.
Except for his dad. But he's not really in the picture.
But we don't really know anything more about his dad.
No,
so
except for that he left. And now he has a new family, which we met in book 1. And also new necromancer children, which we also met in book 1. But they did not make an appearance in this one. And that's fine, because they're not really important to the story.
And we only know that his dad did that. We don't know anything of the relationship between his dad and his mom properly. We've never met him. And yeah, I'm judging him, but I don't want to be too judgy against him without having more context.
Yeah.
There's two sides to the story.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I would like that. I would love for that to be explored a little bit more, but obviously it's not there.
Yeah. So we love a found family. We love a regular family who's also good. And now we have even more potential family members added with Murray and Sexy Gary.
Sexy Gary, the UPS driver, is just... That entire Bigfoot section was just delightful.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really great. But do you know what my favorite... Do you know what my favorite part is? Which is my favorite thing.
I can probably guess.
It's my favorite thing.
I can probably guess.
About any book that has ever been written is Keanu Reeves. I was reading the chapter where Sexy Gary pulls him out of the back of the van and he's tied up in the kitchen and he's just quoting all of his movies and I was dying laughing.
Yeah.
Did I take the red pill or the blue pill? Can I drive? I promise not to go over 50.
It was the Circle K quote that just knocked me over. I was like, yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe this. This is just, why Keanu Reeves? And then just every single little reference about it, just spot on.
So good.
I need to know why Keanu, why not? But yeah,
I have a feeling we'll find out.
I hope so too.
But I love him. That was my favorite.
I'm fairly obsessed with the gnomes. Specifically, the names.
The gnome names were fantastic, but it is so weird that, one, gnomes again, because we just had gnomes recently, and also two, fucking Keanu Reeves again, because that was my cosplay picture a few weeks ago. Granted, it was an old picture, but still, how weird.
I really wish, instead of having the theme being unreliable narrators this week,
it was gnomes?
Month, we actually had, gnomes and Keanu. Because then it'd be like, everybody going, how the hell are we going to have gnomes in Keanu Reeves? How? And it's like, well, here are 2 books. 2. We can give you 2.
Yep.
That insane, absolutely. As soon as the gnomes turned up, and as soon as Minion turned up, I was like, what the hell is going on?
So weird. It was so weird.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yes.
Do you know what else I love? Which is weird for me. I love how heartwarming this book is. Like, how do you possibly make a book about a necromancer heartwarming? Which is hopefully something else we will find out, because it's seriously, like, so sweet. Wholesome, yes. Sam's just really a really good guy. Probably one of the best main characters in anything we've read recently, I think, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. He's like the whole package, isn't he?
Yeah.
Without being an asshole.
Yep, not even a lovable asshole. He's just a lovable guy.
Yeah. He's just making the best of a really shitty situation.
Yep. He really, really is. He's so good.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Can we talk about James for a little bit?
James. Yes.
I mean, James in the first one was, you just kind of... He was there, but you just thought he was this asshole assistant of Douglas.
Right, and he was sometimes a cat, and then Sam pets him as a cat, and then that was weird because he's a man.
Yeah, he was sometimes a cat and sometimes a dragon. Yeah, but then in this one, I really grew to really, really like James.
Yeah, I feel like this was James's story more than anybody else's.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Sam was almost he was the main character, but on the side. Mm-hmm. This was James's story, because the conflict and turmoil he must have had between helping Douglas and helping Sam must have been huge. And when Douglas says, basically, his species, he's a teenager. He's not the age you think he is. He isn't this mature person. Mm-hmm. He is a teenager. And the only family he's ever known is Douglas. But then walking into this whole weird found family with Sam and his friends.
Yeah. And, like, everyone is so nice to him all the time. And Sam, like, in the way Sam deals with James and the way he deals with, like, the gnomes and everyone else around, like, he's like, oh, shit, I didn't realize I was making these mistakes, and so now I'm going to make it better. And a scene where he asks James to take him to see Douglas's body, he's like, hey man, I'm really sorry I asked you to do this, because clearly I was wrong, even though he wasn't. But, like, hey, this must have been really tough for you to see your master's dead body, and I'm sorry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I thought was lovely with the James character was actually how he's probably, I say lovely, he's probably stunned. Like, he's gone through all of this, been found out, and yet the next day, everybody's like, yeah, have some French toast. There you go. Sit down. It's all right. You will be fine. Haley's like, I'll tell you where the steak knives are eventually, but not quite yet.
I love how Haley dealt with them with the knives, because, like, well, James can't have knives because he shoves them into people's doors, and Sam can't have knives because he murders people with them.
Yes.
So I've taken away all of the knives. And that's how she deals with it. And they're like, okay. It's fine.
Fair. We have a spoon. That's the main thing. Exactly. Haley's got so much of the spunky heart of the group.
Yeah.
And she's going to be, if the story were to continue, I wouldn't be surprised if Haley was the one who would make James feel better about himself and feel all right.
Yeah.
And talking of Haley as well, the scene when Sam and Haley are driving to see their father's grave. Mm-hmm. Well, it's Sam's stepdad, Haley's dad. The grave to go and pay the respects. And Sam's just like, yeah, Haley's got this weird sense of self, but she knows who she wants to be. She doesn't listen to her peers. And the weird sense of self is that she is so self-assured, and he respects and loves that about his sister.
Yeah.
And there's none of this weird sibling conflict that is built in the story just to try and make it replicate. It doesn't, not every sibling is in, conflict with each other. It's just they accept each other for who they are, and she's constantly taking the mick out of her big brother. That's how things should be.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's great. It's
good.
Just brilliant dynamics.
Yes.
Realistic dynamics. And I think everybody can get, most people will be able to get some sort of empathy or relatability with one or more of the relationships in there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if they're wares or necromancers or God, anything. They're all a whole spectrum of magical creature.
Yeah. Bigfoots.
Or big feet.
Sexy Bigfoots. I love how...
I unfortunately...
love the Bigfoots. I love that they're like, yeah, we really want to come out of the mountains, but just the way we smell, everyone's like, oh my God, we love you so much. Like, they're just crawling all over us. And they're like giant, sexy monsters.
And it's even worse when they're wearing a UPS driver's outfit.
Yes.
That just killed me. It absolutely killed me.
So ridiculous.
But unfortunately for Murray, he is not the Bigfoot. I kept thinking of Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, but no.
I know, it's devastating. I'm like, no, get that out of my brain. Get it out. So I went and stared at my Bigfoot magnet that you sent me for a little while. But it's still very, Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So yeah, Sexy Gary. I love how they just everybody just called him Sexy Gary.
I love when Sam answered the phone. He's like, who is this? Oh, Sexy Gary. And he's like, oh, I didn't mean to say Sexy Gary. And he's like, yeah, it's Sexy Gary. That's me. That's fine. That's my name. But hey, I got Keanu Reeves in the back of my van, so just gonna bring him by, okay? What?
Express delivery.
Yes. Oh.
You need a sign for him. He's being tracked.
So good.
Oh, delightful. Delightful.
Who's your favorite character?
Murray. Haley.
Yeah.
Without picking the obvious big ones, for me, it's Murray and Haley.
Yeah.
They have a lot of heart in the group and a lot of humour.
Yeah.
And I mean, we need to say Sexy Gary as well.
Oh, obviously.
Sexy Gary.
Obviously.
What about you?
Minion. And James.
All those references.
I know. So good. But I also love James, which, I mean, we're supposed to love James, but I love James. I like... I like him when he's not the main character and he's just doing really, snide and sarcastically helpful things in the background.
Was he watching soaps? Or game shows? I can't remember.
I can't remember what he was watching either, but he was watching something that was... Murder, She Wrote. That's right. It was the crossover episode with Magnum P.I.
Yes.
Yep. Excellent.
I actually think I had my respect for James actually ratcheted up at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably watching it, though, to, learn secrets, since we know, Jessica's the murderer.
He needs to learn Jessica Fletcher's ways.
Yep.
How does she commit murder and get away with it?
Yeah.
Time after time after time.
Yeah. He's picked up a lot. He knows a lot of things. From watching Murder, She Wrote.
It's very instructional.
Really
It is instructional.
It really is. It really, really is.
Were there any surprises?
I know everyone's gonna be surprised by my answer here, but Minion, again, just everything. Just why? Why Keanu Reeves? Why?
Yes. I couldn't agree more. It was the kind where you're listening to it, you have to go, hang on, click back. Yeah, I heard that right.
Yeah. The very first time it was mentioned, and it was my own private Idaho, I was like, okay, so is it Keanu Reeves or is it River Phoenix? Because River Phoenix is actually dead. But then I thought, well, that would be weird if River Phoenix was still walking around. So it's got to be Keanu Reeves. And then a couple of chapters later, something's going on at the Circle K. And then I was like, yep, okay, fine.
I really like the narrator's voice for Minion as well.
Yep.
Because you got the Keanu-isms in there without it being
too
ridiculous.
over the top. Yeah, you did a good job. It was good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. It was a WTF moment.
Yeah. There is something though that I thought was going to happen, and I thought actually did happen, but then it didn't happen, and I was very pleased that it didn't happen. But I got a really bad feeling that Douglas killed Sam and Haley's mom.
Yes.
Because there was that one scene where James was like, hey, I tried to call you to tell you about the egg, but you weren't there. And he's like, oh yes, I was somewhere else. And I thought, holy shit, he went to kill their mom. But no, I think that was probably just in reference to him being somewhere else in his mind and floating back through memories and whatever. But I thought, holy crap. And then she wasn't mentioned anywhere else. She didn't show up to help like literally every other character in the book did. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. No, I got that as well.
Yeah, then Haley shows up later and doesn't say anything, and, that's where she lives, so clearly she's fine. But I got so worried.
I kept expecting some kind of heart-to-heart between Haley and Sam about the mom, and I actually had to go back over a little bit of the audiobook and re-listen to it because I was convinced she'd been murdered. So, no, I get that. I completely get that. Same happened to me.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been bad.
It would not have been surprising, though.
No, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been at all. So, it's time. It's time for Would You Rather.
It's time.
Yes, and we're so excited because our favorite Lish McBride is back with us. We like you too much, I think. So thanks for joining us again.
You sent me the question and I already forgot what the question was.
It's fine.
Even though
you can be surprised.
So we asked everybody, some people in advance, but we'll forgive them. Would you rather have a Pookies? Am I saying that right? How do you say Pookies? Pookies?
I think it's Pookies. It's funny. I love to put words into books that I don't know how to say. Like it's like my favorite thing. And by my favorite thing, I mean it's an actual nightmare because then I have to go read somewhere. Or last week I had to call the people doing the audiobook for curses and pronounce a bunch of things for them. And I'm like, some of the words I made up. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how fonts work. It's an actual nightmare. I think it's Pookies. Sorry. The rest would I rather have that?
Would you rather have a Pookies or Pookies? Or the reanimated corpse of Keanu Reeves as your personal assistant? Would you like to know how social media went before, in case it sways you?
It does not. No, because I want it. So I would rather have James, the Pookies, because he's very efficient. Also, he turns into a tiny dragon. I like that. I want a tiny dragon.
But Keanu Reeves.
I adore Keanu Reeves, but he's not. In the book, he's not useful. He's not like the real Keanu Reeves, who I think would be amazing. In the book, he's less amazing.
Real Keanu Reeves would have your soy latte ready to go. He would know exactly what your coffee order was and just have it in front of you every morning.
Make you a sandwich, just in case you're hungry.
and
He
some
wouldn't just
peanuts
sit
for
on the ground and
protein.
eat grass because I love him.
I do. He's great. Like I honestly do. I have a deep and abiding love for Keanu Reeves.
We're going to have to explore the
my
Keanu Reeves
friend-
aspect a bit more, I think, after the Would You Rathers, but we're going down that route. It's happening.
We'll definitely have to. I do have my friend for Christmas sent me a Keanu Reeves coloring book.
That's fantastic.
It's pretty good. I haven't colored it yet because I'm afraid to.
You gotta make
Right.
copies of it, which means you have to have a copier or a printer.
I do have that. The big like adult coloring book phase that was over here, like those overly complicated
we
coloring
had that
books
too.
that everyone bought, and they're supposed to be. I worked in a bookstore when that was going on, and it was bonkers, like how many we sold. But it's supposed to be a stress reliever. Like studies have shown, your blood pressure goes down and everything. I find them very stressful. I don't know what it is, but it's a color sheet. Like, why is it stressful? But the complicated ones, I'm like, that looks like a lot of time. I'm not gonna. So I shut down. I can't do it.
Is the Keanu Reeves one really detailed?
The Keanu Reeves one isn't bad. It's sort of a medium ground.
Okay.
What did you guys pick? What would you pick?
I just love Keanu Reeves, so that's what I pick. Anytime Keanu Reeves is an option, he is the way to go.
Yeah. Same. Keanu Reeves, hands down, voted across the board, Keanu Reeves. I mean, don't get us wrong, if James was my personal assistant as well, his efficiency would be through the roof. But there's something about just having a little Keanu, on the floor, curled up, having a little nap. It's just so cute. By there, minion.
Constantly quoting his movies. So good.
What did the internet say?
The internet.
I'm curious.
Do you want the stats or do you want what the people said?
I feel like we should probably share statistics because that's what we always
do. We do have them. On Facebook, 73% said Pukas and 27% Keanu. On Instagram, it was 72% for the Pukas and 28% for Keanu. And on Twitter, it was 64% for the Pukas and 36% for the Keanu. And on TikTok, 54% for Pukas and 46% for Keanu. So surprisingly, Keanu did not win. Everybody wants a cute little...
I'm actually quite surprised.
Thing.
I'm surprised.
I am too.
I think mostly I would just find it really entertaining. James is so easy to drive crazy. I mean, just that sort of the easy person to rile, and I think I would find that very entertaining.
You'd have to get him though specifically rather than just a random...
Being a human cat.
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt James. I want to protect James. I want him to always be happy and always be well. Sweet baby James. I can't imagine making him be my personal servant. I don't like it. He's too precious.
But it's personal assistant, so he should get paid benefits.
Sam.
He's not an indentured servant.
He basically does. He's basically, from Sam's point of view, he's more of like family who gets a paycheck. But
it's because
James's view of things is very different.
It's because Sam is wonderful in every way, shape, and form.
So he's another sweet angel baby.
He is.
So freaking wholesome.
Okay, so do you want to share some comments that we got on social media? We had a lot, surprisingly.
Did. Marley on Facebook said
it's the Keanu Reeves.
It wasn't everybody going for the same one for it, which is nice. Marley on Facebook said, Pukas, the fun possibilities and fantasies about this entity are endless in my mind.
Crystal on Facebook said, you had me at Keanu Reeves. Yeah, Crystal. Yeah, we did.
Samesies. Colin on Facebook said, give me some reanimated corpse action, please. Even as a potentially shambling zombie creature, the man is John Wick, and huge parts of being my personal assistant is hurting people in inventive ways, so he's the undead abomination for the job. Fair.
Excellent. Books Are Forever on Instagram said, Pookies, because at least he'll be able to shift into other forms, which will be handy in case you are forgetful like me.
Stefan Creations on Instagram said, I've heard Keanu is like the sweetest man alive. Is he alive though? That's the question. But I think I'd rather have the Pukas. Seems like I get into more places that way. Like cats can be sneaky and quiet, man can be more conspicuous, and a dragon could F something up when needed.
I'm glad the dragon's effing stuff up. Especially because it's effing stuff up. Retard on Instagram said Pukas because love cats and small dragons, and they can look like Keanu Reeves in man form to give me the best of both. Reanimated corpse would be too smelly though, no matter who it was.
I don't know, because the way the magical zombies, like there's no smell.
Right, no smell at
There
all.
wouldn't be. He would look completely human.
And no shambling. You know, they're not the shambling zombies of traditional TV.
No.
Eating grass, not brains.
Exactly, grass, not brains.
Real Jackson Ford on Instagram said Keanu because even as a corpse, he'd be cool as fuck.
He would.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember. Oh wait, we're going to talk about Keanu later. The other thing. Okay, so I won't say anything.
Keanu needs his own section. He does.
He does.
He needs his own podcast.
Do you want to hear more? Shall we move on to the next question?
Is there one more?
Constance on TikTok said, "Cat, I'm a kitty cat and I dance, 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 and I dance, dance, dance."
I'm still so pleased with Constance. We challenged her a few episodes ago to only respond in song lyrics, so she is not disappointed.
I mean, yeah. Trying to think of other good like cat song lyrics.
I'm useless at music, so I would use the power of Google to try and come up with any song lyric that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
That's what Google's for.
Yeah.
True.
And, I mean, are there songs about Keanu Reeves? Or would you just have to choose a song by Keanu Reeves?
I would probably go with God Gave Rock and Roll to Us. Even though it's not Keanu, it's kind of Keanu adjacent.
I mean, there's a song that'll always be my maybe that's about him punching Keanu Reeves, which is not what we want. There is the best part. There is a song by a band called the Ataris called San Dimas High School Football Rules, which is referring to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. It's Keanu adjacent. But there's got to be, I'm sure there's a song out there about Keanu Reeves.
There has to be.
About Keanu.
Are you Googling it? Are you wasting your internet on Googling Keanu Reeves songs?
Come back to me. Go to the next question.
Okay, good. Would you rather be a necromancer, a witch, a were, a Bigfoot, or a gnome?
I always pick werewolf. I'm always team werewolf. I am. And, though, I mean, a were could be lots of other things too. But I'm fascinated, I think, by the mythology. Also, I feel like necromancer powers are pretty limited.
Unless you're Sam, apparently, because he has all of the powers and even some witchiness thrown in, and empathy, and just a great big heart, and he's wonderful in every way.
I'm not nice enough to be Sam. I think I'd have to be, I'm sticking with were creature. I want to turn into stuff.
Yeah.
Bigfoot's too much hair.
But you would be so sexy. You would be so sexy as a Bigfoot.
But only if you're UPS driver as well, I think. Or during, the seasonal pheromone stage.
I made bookmarks of Sexy Gary. And the amount of
Please
I can send
do.
them to you.
I want
Yes!
that so bad.
The amount of books that I've sold on that, or even just like I'll be at school events. There occasionally it's a kid named Gary, and he's like, can I just have this? And it's yes, it's all for you, friend. Sweet, sweet, sexy Gary.
Sexy Gary, so good.
I think the UPS outfit was my so my agent always reads through and does like revisions with me before my editor sees it. And I think he was responsible for the UPS outfit.
So it's him we need to ask about the attraction to UPS drivers.
Save it. That's not this question. That's another question.
Jumping ahead again. Okay,
Right.
pinning that one.
Okay.
Amanda, Necromancer, witch, were, Bigfoot, or gnome?
Probably a witch. Probably
Yeah.
witch. Yeah. Especially if I could, like, cackle, be like a stereotypical witch, like an evil witch. I'll do that.
If you don't live in the woods in a chicken-legged house, are you really a witch?
No, you're not.
See, I'm thinking Necromancer, then I'm kind of witch adjacent because I've still got like wicked magical powers, but then I live in a spooky house. So yeah, I'm gonna go Necromancer. I'm gonna necromance everything up. Yeah, have an army of the undead. Come at me. I can bring out more. Where's all of yours? Oh, the dead? Right, my army now.
Yeah, that's good.
Not that I would use the powers for bad. Legal disclaimer.
Are you a Douglas? You're sounding like a Douglas. You're not sounding like a Sam.
I am British. We always turn villainous.
Oh, gosh.
Next question. Would you rather be called Twinkle the Destroyer, Pip the Bringer of Pain, Chauncey the Devourer of Souls, Cuddly the Inexplicable, Norman Polanski, Pith the Bitey, Norm Chomsky, Normie Malone, or Chuck the Norriser?
I think I would be Bitey. I'd be Bitey.
I had to stop listening to the audiobook when we came to the norm names and rewind to listen to them again because it was so funny.
They're so good.
That one I actually I talked to a couple of my other writer friends and we sort of brainstormed. Some of them are mine, but a few of them were ones. I think I thanked the specific people that helped me in the book. But yeah, they came up with some great ones. And I was sort of bummed that I haven't been able to do a third Sam book yet because I wanted to bring in female gnomes.
Oh my gosh.
I had a name for one of them.
What is her name? Can you tell us? Tell us her name.
I was gonna do a play off of Mary Death, for my friend Meredith, who is actually a ninja. Seriously, she writes plays. She's a very talented writer, but she also trains in ninjutsu. Like she goes to Japan.
Awesome.
Wow.
As a literal ninja. I saw her jump off a horse once. And it was seriously, I was in Mexico at this writer's thing, and we were on like a series of horses going down this very, very tiny trail with jagged rocks and cacti everywhere. It's like you did not want to fall off the horse. And we get down to the bottom, and her horse was right in front of mine, and there was just this little tiny sandy patch, and I guess her horse had an itch because it dropped down and rolled. And she leaped off the back of the horse and landed on her feet. It was so fast I almost missed it, but it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen in real life. And then she got back on the horse. Like as soon as the horse was done, she's like, all right, climb back up. It was like, you have, I don't think, any fear in your body. Like that is, I am very comfortable around horses, but I was like, I would at least think twice. Like, are you done? If you're going to do, because I probably would have not. I wouldn't have been able to get off the horse in time. I would have been crushed. It would have been the end of me.
You do not want to mess with her. She's a badass.
She's awesome. I was going to name a gnome after her, but we haven't gotten to third Sam yet.
Do the female gnomes have beards? Like a female dwarf would probably have a beard.
I don't think I've decided yet. I usually do. I sort of do world building as I need it. I don't know. It's one of those things. There's lots of times when people ask me questions that I haven't tackled yet. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe.
What do you think? Do you think that's a good idea?
I kind of like the idea.
Tell
or maybe
me
at least some
inspirations. What do you think?
Fierce lady
I would
mutton
love a
chops.
fierce lady mutton chop.
That would be amazing. Just down there, not all the way around. Just
Yep.
that would be amazing.
I also just like the term fierce lady mutton chop.
That's another female gnome name you've got right there in the bag.
Yeah.
Write that one down.
I wish I had a fierce lady mutton chop on it.
That's amazing.
So good.
Our fanfic is this week's probably just going to the fanfic we never write is going to just be about the gnomes, I think.
Probably.
They're so much fun. They're basically, I mean, they're just chaos. They are unleashed. I mean, there's no like gnomes don't think things through. They just go full bore all the time, and it's really entertaining.
I really
Literally
like them.
tiny terrors.
Yes. I think I would pick Cuddly the Inexplicable just for the inexplicable part. You know, why is he cuddly? Is he cuddly for, you know, nefarious purposes? It's hard to say because he's inexplicable.
Well, I think it confuses the other gnomes too, because like they're not particularly cuddly, and so there's this one that just keeps going around just giving like these really good hugs that go on just slightly too long.
Inappropriate hugs.
You know, everyone's just kind of. He means like he's not doing it to be creepy. He's just a hugger. But for gnomes, it doesn't really fit their culture.
I love it.
That's delightful. That is delightful. See, I was going to pick Cuddly, but now you're Cuddly. That's fine. I'm going to be Pip, the bringer of pain.
Yeah.
So it's like, hi, Pip. Hi.
Yeah. I also like Twinkle the Destroyer because Twinkle's just so like tiny and adorable, but then he's a destroyer.
Yeah.
Like him.
I do have a deep love for Chuck the
Chuck
Norris.
Norris is also fantastic, especially later when he wears a cowboy hat. But it's got to be a red one, so it's still gnome adjacent.
I did several sort of like these fun text exchanges between characters that I finally put them up on my website this week. They were originally I think Patreon stuff, but there's definitely some gnome things in there.
Check that one out.
They're just fun.
That's amazing. The gnomes need their own little story. They need everything. As soon as they came on, I was just obsessed with them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Keanu.
The gnomes, they deserve the world.
It's weird. I didn't have any gnomes before. Like it's not something I have owned myself, but I now have several because people have bought them for me. And so the very first I think book event for Necromancing the Stone that I had, or maybe are the gnomes in Hold Me Closer at all?
I think they're just
I don't think they
mentioned if they're in it at all.
Yeah.
Like one of the first like book events I think for Necromancing the Stone, there was these women in the audience that like the first question they asked me was like, "Do you own any gnomes?" And I was like, "Well, no, not yet." No, like, we have. And they told me how many gnomes they have, and they're all reading. And I was like, "Well, that seems kind of stressful for the gnomes. Maybe the gnomes want to take a nap. Maybe one of them, just they don't. I mean, I love reading, but maybe some of them don't want to be. I don't know. It was a weird thing to be very. She was very intense about it.
I can imagine.
I don't know. Book events are always a mixed bag.
You know when people have like loads of gnomes in the garden? I mean, can you trust these people? I mean, no disrespect, but it's creepy. Is that just me?
No, one of my neighbors growing up had several gnomes and other little like ceramic, like a little donkey and things all over her yard. And it's just sort of a low level, like, are those things coming alive at night to get to me? I mean, there's just something spooky about them. I mean, I'm sure a lot of very normal people love them and think they're adorable, but I'm not normal. I'm a weirdo. So for me, they're terrible.
Can I tell you that all I want to find in life anywhere is a blow mold donkey like lamp, like from a nativity scene, but like the old ones.
Yeah.
All I want is to have one of those in my house as a lamp, and it's got to be a donkey. I've wanted one for 15 years now, and I have no idea why. Just want one.
My grandma has a big like cement goose that she has outside her front door. She's had for, I don't know, at least 20 years, something, at least, if not longer. And she dresses it up. Like it has different, this goose might have more outfits than I do. And originally she made the outfits for the goose, but then like she found a company that makes them and it's cheaper. And so she ordered goose outfits. And I just like someday I want to inherit that goose.
That's amazing.
I want to get it out.
I hope that you will.
Does it have a proper little wardrobe for all its outfits as well?
I'm not sure where she keeps them. I think I mean, it must have kind of at least space in a closet, because like I said, there are lots. I know it's got a Halloween outfit where it's Frankenstein. It's got a leprechaun outfit. It's got golfing. There's a golf gear outfit. Pretty much every major holiday, at least, it has a little.
So
That's
good.
weird. That's a wonderful. I adore that in every single way possible. That's amazing.
But you think there are so many people that have this, that there's a part of a catalog where you can order outfits for your cement goose. It's a big enough industry. That some
You
companies
can't criticize this because Halloween skeletons, right? I've got a little one. It's small, and I'll make outfits for it, like supposedly for the podcast. But
No, you do
on,
it for yourself.
I'm doing it for myself.
You
But
are.
you know the big. It's at the Walmart sold those huge 2-story skeletons. You cannot tell me that there's not companies out there specifically producing things just for people to put on these huge skeletons in their yards.
They must.
Etsy, man. Etsy's a weird,
I can
wonderful place. It sells you anything and makes you anything. It's wonderful.
I found I think it was for Christmas last year or something, for my son, the little one who's obsessed with Jason from the horror movies. He's not allowed to watch those horror movies because he's 6, but he's obsessed anyway. But I found on Etsy, bath bombs that are Jason's mask, and they turn the water blood red, and he was so happy. He's obsessed with bath bombs now, but specifically because he's like, it's like I'm in a bathtub full of blood. I'm like, wow, I've really messed you up having that kid.
You've got him started just right.
Real
You're parenting right.
into it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Should we move on to the next question, Amanda?
Yes, let's move on to the next question. This is my favorite question that I think maybe perhaps has ever been asked on Would You Rather before. Would you rather be aroused by a sexy Bigfoot or a UPS delivery person's outfit? Not combined.
Damn it.
I mean, frankly, I'm going with Bigfoot because for me, the UPS outfit, I mean, they're lovely people, I'm sure. It's not, it doesn't do anything for me. And I know that there's a whole section in the internet bookstore about Bigfoot. Honestly, I don't really want either, but if I have to pick one,
My favorite was when posing this question to Claire, I sent her a sexy UPS driver. Just for an example. Because that's a thing too. I don't get it.
Our search history is just the most peculiar things. We send each other the most random stuff when we're posing questions and coming up with ideas for things. We need examples. Here's 1,000 pictures of a clown.
Yes.
I've deleted my search history after that one.
And
Sexy Bigfoot or UPS.
now that we've started calling Facebook a testicle in an ugly hat, now we have that drawing. Which can send that to you, Lish, if you want to join in on the testicle drawings.
my search history is already a mess. I mean, the stuff I have to Google for book research.
You see, you have that excuse. We don't.
We're just weird.
I mean, there's my weirdness too. So if you combine the two.
Have you had any phone calls from the internet company going, excuse me, Lish, we need to have a word?
I haven't, but I have to be on a list somewhere. I mean, like for Necromancing the Stone, I know I had to Google like rates of decay, like on a body, like how, because Douglas, like how together his body would stay. For when I did Firebug, there was a lot of like how the best way to blow up a car, and can you track phones without SIM cards, and like, yeah.
And now you're a murderer on the internet.
I look definitely.
See, if you use Google Scholar, everybody thinks you're just writing some weird research paper, and you can kind of like circumvent a little bit. Anywho, sexy Bigfoot Amanda or UPS delivery person's outfit?
Neither. I don't want to pick. I don't want to pick.
You have to.
Think about it this way: Sexy Gary, at least, like he has the ability to make himself look not like a
He
Bigfoot,
does.
doesn't he?
He
Or does
does. He wears that charm.
Yeah.
See, I'm going to go sexy Bigfoot
Yeah.
because I'm pretty much already married to one. So, you know, my man has that hair.
Mm-mm.
You know, I can run my fingers through his chest.
Ugh, that grosses me out. I am married to the exact opposite, like naturally no body hair, and I prefer that. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with the UPS delivery guy's outfit. I mean, brown shorts could be attractive. Are they short shorts? Can we modify the outfit? Like tie the shirt up?
Do you know the worst
Roll
thing
the
about shorts? It's when men wear shorts, but they do the William Riker pose where they just put the foot up just a little bit too high and then gently thrust the
Their
boy just
testicles fall out?
slightly, yeah, exactly, slightly too farther, and then the ugly testicle wearing drops out. Testicle wearing an ugly hat just suddenly peeps out and it's like, hello! It's like, no, don't do that.
Over here, like the shorts that men wear tend to be really long. Like, I mean, like knee
They're
length.
supposed to
And
be.
so that's less.
It would be bad if an ugly testicle fell out of a long shorts.
That would be
Yeah.
very bad. I'm being concerned. That's sensible, you see, but there's always that one person who just wears shorts just too short. And it's always the person who puts the knee
Yeah.
up and just gently thrusts out. And like, hello, I'm talking to you about this.
Oh.
You can't.
There was a man I remember that came into the first library that I worked at, and he always wore the same outfit, and he was very like leathery tanned, and he wore the shortest denim cutoffs that have ever been. You know when like the girls wear the tiny booty shorts and their front pockets hang out?
Yeah.
Yes,
Duke.
yes, but like
Yeah.
less than a Daisy Duke. And so he was wearing these, and he like a macrame shirt, and that's just what he wore.
Was he a time traveler from 1970? Like, I want to know. Like that has to be. Then that's why he never had anything
Right,
to change
'cause
into. Because he was hopping back and forth on the same day.
Yeah, he must have been that. But every time he came into the library, it was the same outfit, and he would always get in front of the circulation desk in like, in the stacks far away and do like a wide leg squat to get books off the bottom shelf. It was good times.
Next question.
The story, like,
Would you rather have waffles with Ashley or coffee with Ed? Oh, Ed.
I had a hard time with this one because I love both waffles and coffee, and Ashley's awesome, but sitting there and having coffee with someone who has a jackal head, I think I'd have to talk to Ed, even though I think I'd get really frustrated that he wouldn't be able to answer any of my questions. Because I'd want to know, like, tell me about the afterlife, and he'd be like, nope, cannot
Not
do.
yet.
But he
And
would.
then he looks at his
That'd be
watch
cool.
and then looks back at you.
Mm.
Give him 5.
Also,
Are you sure
would
that
you
works?
be asking him questions out loud and he's responding in your head? Because then you look like you're bonkers.
You're talking to a jackal-headed creature. Okay, can they see Ed? That's the question.
Nobody's paying attention to that part.
Oh.
I mean, maybe he's just having coffee in my house, and then it wouldn't
Yeah,
matter.
okay.
Like, maybe we're not in a cafe.
You're not having public coffee with Ed. Regardless of what I'm having it with Ed because I love Ed. I've loved Ed ever since Heads Will Roll. When we did that on our live, Ed was just everything. So I have to pick Ed.
He's very
He is.
entertaining.
Oh.
I love
But
him.
Ashley's
I'm glad he
quite
got to
fun
come
as
back.
well. But Ashley's
Ashley
fun.
is great.
I'm going to have
Ashley
waffles
is
with
great.
Ashley, and we're going to have a Waffle House, and I'm going to finally have Waffle House hash browns.
Okay.
Mother covered diced and
Yes,
sliced.
please. Yep.
So, come on.
Great.
That's the last Would You Rather question.
Yes, that was the end of Would You Rather. I'm glad we ended with
Now,
that
Keanu
one
Reeves.
and not the one that led us to talking about testicles.
Yay!
Yay! Everyone go and check out the bonus episode because you know it's going to be good because Lish is ridiculous. Oh, man. So good. So good.
Did we get answers to our questions? Bonus episode.
Ooh. So, favorite final thought quote. What you got?
Okay, I've got 3.
Okay.
4. Yes, 3. Okay, one of them's a big one, so I'm going to just crack on through. So, the first one. Name that character. One does not wear spandex while waggling one's buns in front of a crowd without some amount of ogling. It's human nature.
Oh, it's a good one. So ridiculous.
What's the point of winning if you can't tell a loser who beat him? No glory. Douglas. Okay, this is the long one, and it just had me chuckling all the way through.
Okay.
Her sweetness was usually covered in wasps, like a soda left out on a particularly hot summer day. You know, the kind that bite and sting you, and maybe you don't notice them in your soda because it's hot and you accidentally swallow one and it stings your esophagus and you have to be taken to hospital because you find out that you're allergic to wasps. But no matter how much pain you're in, the soda was pretty sweet and refreshing because it was so hot, and you don't regret drinking it even if it was at a freakishly high cost. It was like that.
It's a really good description.
It's a really good, painfully long description that you completely understand.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, actually, I do know someone just like that.
Yep. Yep. Perfect.
Do you have any?
Yes, of course I do.
Good.
I also have 3. Top of the food chain is nice, but there are a lot more things on the bottom.
Ooh.
You help your friends, even if it fucking breaks your heart to do so. And that is fucking Sam all just right there.
Yes. Yes, that is distilled Sam.
Yes. And finally, people always list laugh or cry. Why isn't there ever a vomit option? It's good. So good. But there's a million more quotes from this book. Like, it's just full of everything great. But those are the ones that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. If you liked this, try this. What do you got?
Yeah. Okay, I was actually recommended this the other day, so I had a look into it. Sounds quite good, so I thought I'd recommend it out to the masses. And it's a series. It's the Lockwood series, and the first book is called The Screaming Staircase by Jonathan Stroud. That title alone really roped me in.
Yes.
The Screaming Staircase. When the dead come back to haunt the living, Lockwood and co step in. For more than 50 years, the country has been affected by a horrifying epidemic of ghosts. A number of psychic investigation agencies have sprung up to destroy the dangerous apparitions. Lucy Carlyle, a talented young agent, arrives in London hoping for a notable career. Instead, she finds herself joining the smallest, most ramshackle agency in the city, run by the charismatic Anthony Lockwood. When one of their cases goes horribly wrong, Lockwood and co. have one last chance of redemption. Unfortunately, this involves spending the night in one of the most haunted houses in England and trying to escape alive. Set in a city stalked by spectres, The Screaming Staircase is the first in a chilling new series full of suspense, humour, and truly terrifying ghosts. Your nights will never be the same again. Ooh. And that's summaries from Goodreads.
Excellent.
What have you got?
I have selected The Summoning by Kelly Armstrong.
Ooh, good one.
Yes. Summaries from Goodreads. Chloe Saunders used to have a relatively normal life, but now she finds herself in the middle of some really strange situations because she suddenly starts seeing dead people. She gets locked up in a group home for unstable teens. The group home isn't what it seems. My name is Chloe Saunders, and my life will never be the same again. All I wanted was to make friends, meet boys, and keep on being ordinary. I don't even know what that means anymore. It all started on the day that I saw my first ghost, and the ghost saw me. Now there are ghosts everywhere, and they won't leave me alone. To top it all off, I somehow got myself locked up in Lyle House, a special home for troubled teens. Yet the home isn't what it seems. Don't tell anyone, but I think there might be more to my housemates than meets the eye. The question is, whose side are they on? It's up to me to figure out the dangerous secrets behind Lyle House before its skeletons come back to haunt me.
Excellent choice. I read that years ago when it first came out.
It's been out for a long
Very
time.
good.
2008, I think. It's very good. Yeah.
To be fair, though, I will recommend any and all of Kelly Armstrong's books because they're brilliant.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, that's it.
Whew.
That's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. Go and check out the bonus episode. Don't forget. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss Last Sacrifice, the final book of the Vampire Academy series by Rochelle Mead. Don't worry, though. We're not done. We're not done with the series. Look out for our Would You Rather polls on social media. Don't forget about our book club and monthly challenges on Facebook. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite fictional hangover-themed merchandise. And become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com, follow us on Instagram at fictionalhangover, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/fictionalhangover, and on Twitter at fictionalhangover, no ER. If you'd like this episode, check out our others and rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.